Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded, yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 92 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty neat idea. This planet has, or rather had, a problem, which was this.
Bolivia, South America. Here, 45 miles west of La Paz, isolated high in the Andes Mountains, lie the mysterious ancient ruins of Puma Punku, spread across a desert plateau at an altitude over 12,000 feet. The megalithic stones found here are among the largest on the planet, measuring up to 26 feet long and weighing more than 100 tons each.
These are the mysterious ruins of Puma Punku, nearly 13,000 feet in the Altiplano of Bolivia. What you have here are massive blocks of granite.
Puma Punku, an ancient megalithic site, old with big rocks. Most people will have never heard of Puma Punku. Why would they? What's so special about this place? It's the stones. They are very old. They are very big. The stones are cut and carved with precision accuracy. This would be hard today, even with lasers and diamond-tipped saws and drills. Puma Punku is unique in its own way, but there are many other sites like this all over the planet. And it seems wherever these ancient megalith sites are discovered, we'll also find evidence of ancient mining. Mined Earth criteria number 1, megalithic sites. Find an ancient megalithic structure and you will almost certainly find evidence of ancient mining.
No one can solve the mystery.
No one can solve the mystery. That is, until now. Mined Earth. Season 1, Peru, Episode 3. Mined Earth Criteria 1 to 7. Dedicated to the premise that our planet, or at least a good portion of it, has at some point in our past been mined. Mined Earth criteria number 2, Creator God mythology. Follow the stories of the Creator God and you will find evidence of ancient mining. Literally, across the road from Puma Punku is another megalithic site called Tiwanaku. In the Tiwanaku site, we will find a statue of the bearded Viracocha Pacacamic monolith. And the Gateway of the Sun, a stone gate weighing 10 tons, with the image of Viracocha Pacacamic on it. This is the Inca sun god, the creator god, Viracocha Pachacamac. As it turns out, this creator god appears in the mythologies of almost every ancient culture. Who is this creator god? What does this ancient creator god have to do with mining? To answer this question, we have to trace this creator god back to his first appearance in the cuneiform clay tablets from ancient Sumeria. Mined Earth Criteria number 3, Sumerian tablets. If events are recorded on the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, then evidence for ancient mining operations will almost certainly be nearby. These tablets date back as far as 3400 BC. Enki, the original creator god. All of these cultural creator gods are describing the same entity. It is the same basic image and the same basic story. If we go back far enough, we get to the original story. The Sumerian tablets call this god Enki. This is Enki, the original Sumerian creator god. These images of Enki are from the ancient Sumerian cuneiform tablets. Enki and the Anunnaki came for the gold. According to the tablets, Enki came to Earth around 450,000 years ago in order to mine gold to bring back to his planet Nibiru, to be used to fix its dying ozone layer. Enki creates humans. The tablets also recount the story that Enki, working here in Eden as the Anunnaki's head scientist from Nibiru, genetically modified the ape creatures that existed on Earth to create a race of gold mining slaves, the creation of the first humans. So let's head back to Peru and see if we can't connect the dots. Do the Inca creation myths give us any clues about ancient mining?
Titicaca, the sun, rose slowly from Lake Titicaca.
So, the story starts at Lake Titicaca.
But the night sky was empty, so he made the stars, the planets, and the moon. The beautiful moon, Pachamama, became his wife, and together they ruled the heavens and the earth. Pachacamac fashioned the first humans from the stone of an enormous...
The Sumerian tablets also tell a story. They say that about 2500 BCE, a god called Enki left Sumer to oversee lands. According to the Inca, it was also around 2500 BCE that a white-bearded god arrived in the Andes Mountains coming from the east. Sounds like this could be the same god. So, Enki was in South America around Lake Titicaca. Let's start our ancient mining search there. The Inca creation myth then goes on to say how the children of Pachacamac went on a journey to find a place to settle.
Pachacamac's son became the first Inca. He and his sister wife ruled the first humans. After a while, the Inca and his wife took a long journey to find the perfect place for his people to settle. At every stop, they stuck one of their father's golden rods in the earth. Each golden rod would be a symbol for his people to build a city. When they reached the valley of Huanacari, the golden rod sank into the ground and disappeared. Inca decided that here should be the site of the first temple of the sun, and that here is where he and his people would settle. Inca.
This place is the present-day city of Cusco. According to the Inca creation myth, we should start our search for ancient mines at Lake Titicaca. And then proceed up the valley towards Cusco, where the golden rod sank into the ground. Peru, Lake Titicaca to Cusco to Machu Picchu. Let's have a good close look at the journey from Lake Titicaca up through the valleys to Cusco and then beyond to the Inca sacred village of Machu Picchu for some geological evidence of ancient mining. Mined Earth criteria number 4. Geological evidence. Does the landscape match the narrative? That is, this whole valley from Lake Titicaca to Machu Picchu has, at some point in the past, been mined. Puma Punku is situated at the southeast corner of Lake Titicaca, and it seems to be in this flattened basin. Perhaps it was at one point part of the lake, but here's the ruins in here, and surrounding the ruins looks like we have this flattened plateau that seems to be eroded down into this flattened valley around Puma Punku. And so what we're looking at here is the cliff formed just north of Puma Punku, and surrounding this sort of Puma Punku valley, and juxtaposed against it is pictures now of Chino copper mine. These are tailing erosions. So the idea here is to show what the eroded cliffs around Puma Punku look like compared to a known cliff of tailings that have been eroded. So this becomes important. What is a mine tailing, or what are mine tailings? Mine tailing is the finely ground up ore that is left over after the gold or whatever element you were trying to get at, has been processed out of it. Could the cliffs and flattened valleys around Puma Punku be formed with mine tailings? Here's Johannesburg. Now these are tailing piles and how they form them today. I mean, these are piles of sediment or mine tailings that are hundreds of meters deep, and they've been bulldozed flat on top like this. And we can see that they're big enough, they're just about as high. These are some more tailing piles that have eroded away, and we got a similar look as to the Puma Punku cliff. Here's some more tailing piles eroded away near Johannesburg. So again, what we're seeing is this giant pile of sediment, leftover tailings from the mining operation, that have been flattened out, and over the years, erosion has occurred down the side of it. Glacial erosion and accumulation of volcanic pyroclastic materials cannot account for the amount of finely ground sediment found around Puma Punku, or in the Andean mountains in general. It's flat because it's been filled in with sediment mine tailings from a massive systematic ancient mining operation. And it's flattened everywhere because it's been mined everywhere. I think people have a hard time recognizing this as mine tailings because there's so much sediment, there's so much of it. And to acknowledge that these would be mine tailings would be to acknowledge that this has been mined on a massive scale. But that is exactly what we're seeing here. It becomes interesting because there are gold mines in the area. And in fact, if I go far enough south, I end up at a mine here. And what we're looking at in this mine is how they dig out the dirt in this sort of tiered terrace fashion. So they'll blast out this earth, they'll mechanically pulverize it to this sort of fine residue, pile it up. Over top of it, they're going to pour cyanide. The cyanide will trickle through this pile, and the gold will attach to it in this aqueous solution, which will then drain out into these tailing ponds. And once it gets down into these tailing ponds, this cyanide gold aqueous solution can be collected, and then the gold can be further processed out of it. And perhaps the cyanide can be reused to start this process again. But in this area, there's an awful lot of this sediment, more than geological processes and present-day mining operations can account for. Which in turn lends weight to the notion that somewhere in the ancient past, this area has been mined. Now the next thing that's very interesting about Lake Titicaca is that it's deep. As we come up towards it, we see that it's sort of flattened out here. We see these flattened out valleys which seem to be filled in with some sort of sediment. We see these larger structures kind of sticking out from this fill. We get the sense that it seems pretty flat and pretty filled in. In fact, this whole front basin is only maybe 9-10 meters deep. But as we get just past this front basin and into the bigger lake itself, it goes very, very deep.
And then once it becomes off the deep, we see this sort of other side of the lake where it's flattened out again. Seems to be these valleys filled in, or at least flattened valleys here. So we sort of see flat, but in the middle, deep. And what I've got here is a bathymetric map. It's like a topographical map of Lake Titicaca, and you can see from this map, this is the front basin. This is 9-10 meters deep, and as I go into this channel, boof, it goes deep. The edges are very, very steep all the way around. So what I'm looking at is like, it's almost like a dugout pit. And so my question is, could glacial action, which I would expect maybe to cause some sort of intent, but would it cause this sort of very steep cliffs, leave these steep sort of island structures sticking out, and then abruptly end back to what I would see is sort of another smooth transition at the end? So again, what we're going to do is compare this peculiar feature, peculiar characteristic of Lake Titicaca to known gold mines of today. And what we're going to see is that they're similar. For example, when we look at Kalgoorlie Super Pit in Australia, although obviously not as long or as wide as Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca is huge at 118 miles long and 50 miles wide. It is twice as deep and clearly demonstrates that there are similarities between Lake Titicaca and a super pit gold mine. And as for the island structures in Lake Titicaca, which are pretty unusual in my mind, we can see that modern day quarries have sometimes these towers left behind, or these rock that have not been quarried out are left behind, which are similar features to what we're seeing in Lake Titicaca. So can we account for this unusual feature in the lake? Absolutely, when we look at these modern day quarries. So again, we see that mining theory explaining characteristics of the lake that geological processes have a difficult time doing.
It seems like some of the most unusual anomalies of Lake Titicaca are easily explained if you consider this to be an ancient open-pit mine. And there's more.
So we'll go to the BBC to fill us in. Ancient temple found under Lake Titicaca. This is extraordinary. This implies that at one point this lake would have been dry enough to build some sort of structures at the bottom of it. More recently, the Bolivian government has actually pledged to build these underwater museums so that tourists can view these ancient sites that are at the bottom of Lake Titicaca. The implications are huge. To prove that there was a civilization at the bottom of Lake Titicaca and that it was dry 2,000 years ago does not fall in line with the geological explanation as to how it was formed and how it exists. Which again lends weight to our hypothesis that somewhere in the ancient past this area has been mined.
We are building a case. We are developing a criteria checklist to point us in the direction of ancient mining sites. We've seen Puma Punku and been to the bottom of Lake Titicaca. Is this not evidence enough? What more could there be? This is Puma Punku, Lake Titicaca. And Quinani, Peru, a megalithic site. Who built this? How? Why? Kutimbu, Peru, polygonal megalithic architecture. No seams, no mortar, no explanation. So far. Aramu Muru, Dragon's Back. Astonishing geology. Water channel? Staircase? Natural formation or carved stone? Carved into the rock here is the gateway to the gods, often described as a trans-dimensional stargate to another world. Can you see it? This is called the Gateway to the Gods. It is basically on the shores of Lake Titicaca. Does this look naturally formed? Is it unique? Are there any other formations like this? Of course. There are many other sites just like this, including one on the other side of the planet in Turkey. Geological, Turkey, Midas City, the fabled tomb of King Midas. King Midas of ancient Greek mythology is said to have been buried here. The story says King Midas was granted the wish that all he touched would turn to gold by the Greek god Dionysus. Here is a Wicca statue of Dionysus. Look familiar? The many guises of Enki, the creator god, will be a reoccurring theme. So here is what looks like a carved gateway with associations to gold and creator gods. And this one, the Gateway of the Gods, back near the shores of Lake Titicaca. The dots are being connected. We're still looking for ancient mining evidence around Lake Titicaca. Let's keep going. La Horca del Inca. There is an ancient megalithic site that forms an astronomical clock around Horca del Inca. These giant stones are placed and they make an amazingly accurate solar timepiece. Isla de la Luna. The whole island is terraced. It looks like it's been scraped clean. Strip mine? Let's have a good look at this little island. Selective precision glaciation? Or could this have been mined? We've seen similar structures in our present-day quarries. Anything else on this island that might point to ancient mining? Incredible. We will see this type of ancient architecture again in all parts of the world. These are just some of the more interesting mysteries of Lake Titicaca that can be explained by mind-earth theory. There are more. Mined Earth criteria number 5. Nearby present-day gold mines. Ancient mining sites will usually have present-day gold mines nearby. Often, present-day mines will unknowingly be mining the tailing piles of exponentially larger ancient mining operations. Here are 6 mines in the area around Lake Titicaca, the Sacred Valley, and Cusco. They all seem to line up. Potosi Silver Mine, also gold, lead, and tin. Potosi is one of the largest silver deposits in the world. Clear evidence of surface mining. It is scarred, it is terraced, it has tailing ponds and tailing piles everywhere. It has been mined in modern times since 1535, especially by the Spanish. It is riddled with tunnels. And ruled by El Tío. Lord of the Underworld. Protection and destruction. Shape of a goat. The horns, mining, Lord of the Underworld, creator and destroyer, represented by the goat. This is the classic creator archetype, and yet still another version of Enki. The fact that this god is around satisfies Mind Earth criteria number 2. Follow the creator god, and you will find evidence of ancient mining. Spanish 1735 silver coins, pieces of 8, mined at Potosi. It is thought that the dollar symbol comes from the writing the letters PTSI on top of each other, the symbol for Potosi. Potosi is still being mined today. This and the other 6 mines satisfy mined earth criteria number 5. There is definitely gold in the area. Potosi is a silver, gold, lead mine. Katavi, mostly tin but gold. Korikolo, gold mine. There's Puma Punku. Arasi, gold mine. Tintea, copper and gold mine. Las Bambas, copper and gold mine.
All the mines seem to run in a straight line, parallel to the direction of the ancient journey from Lake Titicaca to Cusco. Is there a geological explanation for this? Fault lines would help explain what we are seeing. Mined earth criteria number 6. Earthquakes and fault lines. Scientific studies have found that gold is deposited and forms during earthquakes. Most earthquakes occur at fault lines. Find a fault line and you'll likely find gold. Find an ancient fault line and you'll likely find ancient mines. Small-scale fault systems in the Earth's crust have a strong correlation with the location of gold, a recent study at the St. Ives goldfields in Western Australia has found. The research, published in Science Journal or Geology Reviews, found that all major gold deposits are controlled by faults, but small fault systems are more likely to lead to gold than larger ones. Could it be because all of the larger fault systems have already been mined? As it turns out, the route from Lake Titicaca up to Cusco and through the Sacred Valley is not only above one of the planet's largest plate tectonic subduction zones, it is here that the Nazca plate slips under the South American plate. This is called a subduction zone and is one of the largest subduction zones on our planet. The plate slides underneath the South American plate at about 30 degrees, causing all kinds of friction, pressure, heat, and earthquakes in the land above it. That's part of it. The area also lies on a more extensive surface fault system. An earthquake locator and predictive map. The area to the northwest of Lake Titicaca seems particularly susceptible to earthquakes. Question: did the earthquakes lead to mining, or did mining destabilize the area and lead to earthquakes? A fault lines map. The surface faults run right up the valleys towards and through Cusco. Mined Earth criteria number 7. News reports and scientific papers. The further humans advance with scientific processes, methods, and reporting findings, the more likely it is that we will find evidence supporting the mined Earth premise. Headline from the Mysterious Universe website: Machu Picchu was purposely built on top of intersecting fault lines. They have the fault line story. Unfortunately, no one has connected it to the gold story. Why was Machu Picchu built in such a remote location? New research suggests it was because of geological fault lines. The fault lines presented builders with naturally occurring rock fragments which were significantly easier to move around and build with. Research suggests Machu Picchu was purposely built on top of intersecting fault lines. It's believed the fissures produced chunks of cracked rock that aided in its construction of the city's tightly fitted stone walls. Almost. Fault lines reveal answer to ancient Machu Picchu mystery. It gave them access to water, drainage, and readily building materials. How about if we add and gold? So close. We're almost there. Almost all the criteria have now been stated and satisfied. There are a few more to come. We'll head out on a Google Maps journey and follow the Inca creation story from Lake Titicaca up towards Cusco to look for more evidence of ancient mining.